Social media used to run my life. Senseless scrolling cost me hours that I'm never gonna get back. I had such an unrealistic idea of self-improvement. A lot of what I did was for external validation, and I felt like I was on this hamster wheel of constantly chasing for more. So quitting Instagram and TikTok has been truly life-changing for me. It's been over 6 months since I quit these apps for good. The time actually flew by, and it's been really neat to hear about and connect with your experiences doing something similar or the same in the realm of social media. So today I thought I would share an update of my own journey and hear more about yours in the comments. I'd like to thank Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. Since quitting these apps, I finally feel like I have the time to make things happen. The things that I've always wanted to do but never really did because I was always, spending my free time scrolling on my phone. That time is now being spent learning and diving deeper into my interests and hobbies like painting, for example. The classes and learning paths on Skillshare have been making it so easy to grow my skills in a fun way and on my own timeline. If you're not familiar with Skillshare, it is the largest online learning community for creatives, and it has thousands of classes right at your fingertips. And because it's been designed by creatives for creatives, you're getting insider info on a whole range of topics. Whether you're looking to boost your productivity, build your dream career path, or even master color theory, with Skillshare, you can go from beginner to expert at your own pace. Personally, for me, the longer days of summer have been inspiring me to explore my creativity in watercolor painting. It's always something that I've found very therapeutic and soothing, so I'm actually working through a learning path on exactly this right now. I really appreciate how it's started at a very basic skill level, which is obviously me right now, and as I go through the classes in the learning path, I'm able to grow my skills gradually and experiment with new techniques. I love making watercolor painted cards for birthdays, weddings, just fun events for my loved ones. So it's gonna be really neat to see how my skills grow throughout the summer. If you quit social media as well and you're looking for ways to fill your time, now that boredom has kicked in, you definitely just found one and you can start today. The first 500 people to use my link in the description box will get a free 1-month trial of Skillshare. Think of how much you can learn and do in 1 month. This is definitely your sign to get started on that hobby or interest that you've been thinking about. So click the link in the description to get started today. Since leaving these apps, I finally have what I believe to be a healthy appetite for self-improvement and development in my life in general. There are 2 things that I've kind of realized about the content that I personally was consuming quite a bit of when I was still on these apps. Number 1 is that what I was seeing was constantly highly carefully crafted and curated content that was created to portray an idealized version of reality. Self-improvement is so much more than grabbing a green juice, running on the treadmill, and writing in your journal. It is a process, and it's often a slow process. It's not going to be the same for every single person, and it's not going to look the same for every person. And I think that's really, really key, and it's easy to get caught up in the trend of doing something because it looks a certain way on social media. So that's the first thing, everything that we see online, at least 90% of it, I think, is very carefully crafted content, and it portrays an unrealistic version of reality. And number 2, a whole bunch of the content that we see has been created to display a specific aesthetic or, display something for the mere appearance of it. And so there's very little substantial information that someone can gather from a post, like an image, or a 30-second reel or TikTok. It lacks a lot of depth. It's easy to consume and it's easy to get caught up in, but it's really not a true reflection of what self-improvement is, nor is it going to be applicable for every person. Trends, even if they are, in the realm of self-improvement and productivity, are meant to make us feel like we have to hop on the bandwagon, like it's something that everybody's doing, so we've got to do it too. And I just don't think that's how self-improvement works, if that makes sense. Being off of social media has really given me clarity to decide which self-improvements and life changes are necessary for A, the season of life I'm in, or B, necessary at all. Am I just doing this because I saw somebody else doing it, or am I doing it because I truly feel like I need a change in my life and this will greatly benefit me? Just because someone else is doing something great in their life doesn't mean that I have to do it as well. Sometimes it's not even applicable to me. I think when we're on social media, we can get really caught up in what everybody else is doing, and a lot of the time it doesn't work out in the end for us personally if we try to do the same thing as somebody else, especially in self-improvement, because our motivations are not in the right place. So the space that I've received from being off of these apps and not seeing all of that type of content all the time has really given me that clarity to decide what self-improvement means to me and to figure out what truly matters in my own life. And now, kind of leaning into this point, I kind of just mentioned it, but that is realizing the motivations behind the decisions that I make. I feel like I have a lot more clarity when it comes to this, because when I was on social media, it was so easy to constantly be in that cycle of searching for external validation, and so much so, and for such a long time, that that's just the way that I would live my life. I would do things because I would think, oh, this is gonna make a great post. This is gonna look so good on my feed, rather than living in the present moment. And I feel like when we're on social media for so long, what we see is a lot of fame, it's a lot of money, it's a lot of overconsumption, constantly seeking more, whether that's, mentally or physically, materially. And so it's easy for us personally to get into that mindset of being motivated by these external factors. So without these apps, I feel like I've got more clarity to make decisions that are based on intrinsic motivations, that are going to give me lasting and true satisfaction, rather than external validation from likes, comments, and whatever else I might have received from posting an image or a video online. You don't need to agree with this, but I do not think that social media is the same as being genuinely social in real life. In real life, social interactions involve face-to-face communication. It involves body language, emotional cues, tone of voice, but you just don't get that when you're communicating through a screen. So it's been really eye-opening to realize and recognize what had become normal behavior for me. When I had the habit of pulling my phone out at every, quiet moment or awkward moment, so we train ourselves to believe, I definitely was not being truly present. I was kind of locking myself in that digital realm. So being more aware of this has certainly helped me in retraining myself to be more social. This shift has made me more comfortable in social situations, which has allowed me to build deeper connections with people, whether that's, strangers that I see in the elevator or the odd person at the grocery store standing in front of me. And in doing that, it has helped me to appreciate and be in the present moment so much more frequently. Seeing and craving more on social media really blurred my eyes to the excess in my own life, even as a minimalist. I was constantly bombarded, as we all are, with people who seemed to have it all, and in turn, it made me feel like I needed to have more. Even if it wasn't always materially, it could be in the form of more productivity, more time off, more this, more that, whatever it might have been. The idea was that I was constantly chasing more. I was constantly chasing something that I felt I didn't have. It not only led me to feel very dissatisfied with my own life, but it also kind of disconnected me from reality. Without the constant comparison, I've been able to take a step back and truly appreciate what I have. In fact, I no longer even feel attached to my material goods. And it feels very freeing because I know that my true life satisfaction is coming from other more meaningful sources like time with my family, good friendships, and, pursuing my hobbies. So now I want to touch on how being off of Instagram and TikTok has actually affected my use on other social media apps. I've had a few comments on my previous videos asking how I use YouTube, because obviously I'm on here, and yes, it is social media, but there are also other platforms that I still have, like Pinterest and Facebook, so I just want to address those and kind of share the decisions that I've made with those apps as well. Number one is Pinterest, and I kept this one because I find a lot of inspiration from it. And typically when I'm going onto the app, I'm actually searching for something. I don't tend to browse my home feed unless I am looking for something, outfit combinations to use what I've got in my own wardrobe, or, party decoration ideas, DIY crafts. Things like that are the things that I go to Pinterest for. So I don't find myself going on here often, and therefore it's not a problem for me like Instagram and TikTok were. Okay, number two is YouTube. And obviously, I work on YouTube. This is not just a consumer platform for me. I would say that 80% of my time on this platform is as a creator and only 20% is as a consumer. So again, just like Pinterest, it's never really been an issue. At the beginning when I quit TikTok and Instagram, I definitely found myself watching more YouTube videos. However, at this point in time, I definitely feel like my consumption has decreased quite a bit. I'm spending less than 3 hours a week on YouTube for, consumption. Okay, and lastly is Facebook. This one is gonna be another big change for me because I've decided to delete Facebook as well. It is not something that I find a lot of value in. I think that it's become quite stale. I've had it since I was in grade 8. So there's a lot of friends on my list that I'm like, I don't know you anymore. I have no connection to you. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And rather than going through a list of hundreds of people and calling it, I've just decided that I really don't need it. My husband does still have Facebook, so if I want to use Marketplace, we can go on his account. If we need to be reached, I've got a phone. I don't need to have Facebook Messenger. I think social media can be very, very different from person to person. Like the vice that you have as social media, it might be Instagram for somebody. For me, it was definitely that. Could be TikTok. That's definitely a huge one for a lot of people that I know. It could be YouTube, if you're, constantly watching hours and hours of content and it's affecting other parts of your life. I think deciding what to quit is going to be based on your behaviors and how a specific platform makes you feel. Being off of Instagram and TikTok has been really life-changing for me in just allowing me to gain clarity of my values, of what's important to me, and to see life for what it truly is, rather than through the lens of external validation and through a screen, essentially. I hope that by sharing my experience, you feel inspired to reflect on your own use of these social media apps in your life, how they affect other areas of your life, how they make you feel, because even though social media is so deeply ingrained in our society and we're made to believe that it's essential to life now, there is an alternative, there is a possibility of living without it, and life can be just as good, if not better, without them. So if you are on your own journey of quitting social media, I'd love to hear about your experience in the comments. If you're more seasoned and you've been off of social media for a while now, feel free to also share your tips for living without them, for staying off of the apps and filling your time. Definitely don't forget about Skillshare because it's summer now. So if you've got time on your hands, you now have opportunities for a whole month of learning, a whole month of growth. So click that link in the description box to get started today. If you made it this far, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.